The special rule types, which are N of M suppression, flapping detection, event set detection, and trap processing, each have a specialized purpose and different types of action that can result from their success. N of M suppression rules are intended to prevent false positive events being raised for occasional, sporadic, or short duration conditions that aren't serious enough to warrant operator intervention or concern. They allow one or more incident opening events to be provided along with incident closing events. The opening events are suppressed until the event would have been open for at least the specified percentage of the given time period, at which point one of each type of opening events that have been received are released for further processing, including the opening of incidents. Let's take network outage events as an example. These are computed on a 2-minute cycle, so if an N of M suppression rule was set to 60% of 10 minutes, it would suppress a single isolated network outage event lasting 2 minutes or 4 minutes, or even a pair of 2-minute outages separated by a gap as short as 2 minutes. However, if there were network outage events totaling at least 6 minutes within any 10-minute period, the rule would succeed and the corresponding events would be released. Flapping detection rules allow a list of events to be defined. For each event, the minimum number of occurrences to qualify for flapping detection is specified, along with a time period over which they must have happened. There's also a menu to choose which event will be derived once the flapping criteria has been met, at which point all the events that contributed to the rule will also be suppressed. While the suppression is active, the incoming events will still be monitored, and once the flapping condition no longer exists, the last of these events will be released. This means that a flapping port that stops flapping in the down state will cause the port down event to be released, and the corresponding port status problem incident will be updated to show that the port is in the down state. If, however, the port stopped flapping and is now in the up state, the port status problem incident would be cleared. Deduplication rules allow an event type to be nominated and a period over which repeated occurrences of that event on the same component should be suppressed. The first event of the nominated type initiates the deduplication period and is then released for further processing immediately. Subsequent events of the same type are then suppressed for the deduplication period. Once the time period has been exceeded, the last suppressed event, if any, is released. Additionally, a release event may be defined. In this case, if the release event is received during the deduplication period, then the period ends immediately, and the last suppressed event, if any, is released for further processing. Note that if another event of the nominated type arrives after the deduplication period has ended, it initiates the deduplication processing again. Event set detection rules are intended to allow multiple related events to be gathered together into the same incident. The rule only succeeds if all of the listed events occur on the same source component within the specified time period. Under that circumstance, it then proceeds to run all of the actions listed in the action steps list. Here's an example of a trap processing rule. It was automatically created as part of the trap MIB loading process that's used to configure the system to properly handle vendor proprietary traps. When trap events are generated as a result of having received a trap, they will initially be of an event type called unknown trap. Each of these rules processes a specific type of trap event that's generated as a result of receiving this trap type, so this could be thought of as being a special form of condition. By default, there are no other conditions defined. When the specified trap event is seen, it will be converted into the type of event listed in this field. Additionally, all of the varbinds, which are the named parameters included with a trap, are used to build this string, which defines how the details attribute of the event will be formatted. Each varbind creates a variable of the same name that contains its contents. So in this case, the details attribute would contain this string followed by an equal sign, followed by the contents of that named varbind, followed by a comma, followed by the next varbind. If the varbind values are defined in the MIB as being of an enumerated type, then their meaning will be used rather than the original numeric value. The conversion of enumerated varbinds is performed automatically. The extra identifier setting allows one or more of the varbinds to be selected to be used to establish uniqueness in the handling of incident correlation. If, for example, a trap is received that indicates that one of several modules has failed, it would be important to correlate this to a future trap that shows that the same module is working again. The opening and closing events for an incident must correspond to the same component for the mechanism to work correctly. Finally, there's an option to invoke additional actions if required, but it should be noted that the changes made to the original trap event are performed independently of such actions. It's also worth noting that the variables that are configured to hold the contents of varbinds can be used within the action steps. They can also be used within conditions if these use the Groovy script option. This facility, however, is restricted to the processing within this rule and can't be used in subsequent rules that process the same event.